Hey guys, Mr. Amari here with our next tutorial video. So far we've made our playfield as simple as it seems. We have some walls here. We have a ball that will bounce when it hits our player controlled character. We have our player character that will be controlled as the arrows on the keyboard are pressed. And we have bricks that'll interact when the ball hits them. It'll hit the bricks will disappear, and the ball will bounce off of them. We more or less have the game made. The problem is, as it is right now, it's more of a toy and less of a game. Mainly because we can play with it, but we have no way of knowing if we're winning or losing. See, that's one of the big definitions of game here, is we need to have some sort of way to know that we are winning or losing. What we call in game design, we call a fail condition or a fail state, and a win condition or a win state. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how we can make those two things with our event editor and make it so that the player has some sort of driving goal to get to. So we're going to go into our event editor and we're going to take a look here, and we're going to see the events that we currently have. We currently have an event that has a collision between the ball and the paddle, and that's just going to make the player bounce. We have a event where the ball collides with the background, that is the walls and ceiling that have been made, and that just again makes the ball bounce so that it doesn't go through it. And we have an event where when we have a collision between the ball and the brick, the ball is going to bounce and the brick is going to destroy itself. Now, we could have actually said this when there's a collision between the ball and the brick, or the brick and the ball. It really is the same thing. This thing means the same thing no matter what order it's in, because it is just testing to see, are these two things touching? And these things will happen. Now, for our score, we want there to be a score on screen that goes up every time we have this event happen. So we don't even need to make a new event yet. We need to just make a new outcome over here on the right side. And this is where we're going to pull in another one of these rows that we haven't used yet. So we're going to go over to the row that has player 1. It's got the icon of like a person with the 1 next to it. This is basically all the things you can have happen to the player of the game, what we keep track of for the player of the game. As we come down here, so where there's a collision between the ball and the brick, we want the score for the player to go up. So if I right click on this box, you can see we have an option for score. And we have set score, which means we can set a score to a specific number, add to score, which will add a certain number to the score that we select, or subtract from the score. We can take away from your score. We obviously want to add to the score. We want to, let's say, add 5 points for every brick that gets hit. So let me click add to score, and then we'll ask me. Now this looks very fancy, and a lot of students, when they first see this, they get a little like flustered because it looks very complex. This isn't very complex. This is just kind of like the calculator for events here that is used in Clickteam Fusion. And really, it's just, again, making an expression to calculate a number. And honestly, all we're doing, we're just saying how much we want to add to the score. And we want to add 5 to the score. Now, when you put a number in that will work with your code here, you'll see that it'll be in green, and we'll have it say valid expression. If you ever have it say invalid expression and be red, you need to change something in here. But for right now, we're doing very simple math. We are adding to the score 5 points. So we're going to hit OK. So now, collision between that and that, we have 5 added to the score. So if we go back to our frame editor, we run it. Now it says it's going to add to the score, but we don't have any score here on the screen. See, and that's the thing, Clickteam Fusion will keep track of things, but we need to actually display this thing on the screen as well. So we do need to add to our frame editor our score. So we go back into our frame editor here, I right click, I go to insert object, and in your objects, if you scroll down, you'll eventually hit in the S section, you should see a thing that says score, and looks like this. If you select it and hit OK, again, it'll turn into a crosshair, which will ask you where do you want to put it. Now, I want to keep mine out of the playfield. I want to keep it so it's not in the way of the ball and the bricks. So I'm going to click in the top right corner here inside the wall. And you'll see it'll put a 0 there. And I can kind of drag it to fine tune where I want it. So my score is going to show in the top right corner here. So let's see, does this work? Does the expression I made actually make my score go up? So I'm going to go ahead, go to run, go to frame, get myself ready to play. Hey, and there we go. it just hit 2 bricks, and it just gave me 10 points. 15 points, so there we go. It's going up by 5 every time it's hitting one of those bricks. So not bad. So what about some sort of fail state, right? Now in most games, we have only a certain amount of times we can try to do what we're trying to do. So let's say the goal for this game is we're trying to clear this board, right? We're trying to get rid of all these bricks. And now if you can just constantly do it, it's not really gonna, be very fun, because it's just you can do it over and over again until you complete it. You want to have some sort of challenge. You want to be limited into how many times you can do this. Usually in old arcade games, you have what are called lives, right? You can only have 3 lives to finish the level, let's say. So let's say we want to do that, right? We want to have it so that we only have a certain number of lives in the game for the player to play this. So in our frame editor, we're going to insert a little life counter. So we're going to right click, we're going to insert an object. And again, if you scroll down, you'll eventually get in the L section. And again, you'll have far fewer things than I have here. I think this is lives. It looks like a little heart-shaped thing. We're going to hit OK. And again, it makes a little crosshair. We're going to go into the top left corner. And it'll give me 3 lives. It kind of does 3 lives by default. This is something you can change later in its settings, but we're going to keep it at 3. That's kind of a classic video game trope, is 3 lives to be able to do something. So now I have a score counter and I have a life counter here. And if I run it, oh, it went out the bottom, but I didn't lose a life. See, I still have 3 lives. And not only that, the ball goes out the bottom and then just stays out of the bottom. I don't have it respawn at the top here. So we need to fix that. And to do that, we need to go into our event editor. So in our event editor, we obviously need to make a new condition. So we want to make a condition that's keeping track of, is the ball on the playfield or did it go out of the bottom of the playfield? So I'm going to click new condition and I'm going to go to the ball, right? Because this is the thing we're keeping track of. And then if we go ahead and look at our options here, we're keeping track of the position of the ball. We're checking to see, is the ball going somewhere specific on the screen? Namely, is it going out of the bottom of the screen? So I'm going to go to position, and I'm going to go to test position of ball. Because what it's going to do is we're going to tell it to test to see, is the ball going somewhere specific on screen? So we're going to click that, and it'll ask us, okay, here's your frame. Click on the position you want to test for. Now, we only want to test for one spot. We want to test to see, is it going out of the bottom of the screen? And that's this arrow here at the bottom. This is the arrow that is pointing to bottom of the frame, out of the frame. And if we hit OK, we now have a condition that says when the ball leaves the play area on the bottom. That perfectly describes how our game works, right? So what do we want to have happen? Well, we want to have a few things happen. First, we want our lives to decrease by 1. So I'm going to go leaves the play area on the bottom. And you might think, oh, let me go over here to the column with the lives. Clickteam Fusion's a little tricky about this. The options you have here are really about the visibility of the hearts themselves. We don't want to mess with that. What we're going to do is we're going to go back over to the player. And again, in the condition, when the ball leaves the bottom, we're going to go to the player option, and we're going to go to number of lives. Now, we're going to do a similar thing to this that we did with the score. We're going to subtract from the number of lives instead of add to. So we're going to make it so that when the ball goes out of the bottom of the play area, that we're going to subtract 1 life from our number of lives. And again, we're going to see this very familiar calculator. It's going to say how much do we want to subtract from the number of lives, and we're going to select 1. We hit OK. And now again, we can read this like a sentence. When the ball leaves the play area on the bottom, subtract 1 from number of lives. So let's try it out. And there we go. We see it works. The ball went out the bottom of the area. I did not bounce it, and I lost 1 of my hearts. Unfortunately, the ball did not come back here, right? We want to make it so that after I lose a life, well, I want the ball to respawn back on the screen. I want it to come back here so I can try again. So again, we can go ahead and we can use this condition we've made to make that happen. So what we're really saying is that when the ball leaves the bottom of the play area, what we want to do is we want the ball to go from where it is, that is the bottom of the play area, back into the center of the screen to play again. So what we can do is we can tell the ball, hey, when you leave the play area on the bottom, set your position back to the center. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over here when the ball leaves the play area on the bottom. We're going to right click over here. We're going to go over to position. And here you have the option of you could give X and Y coordinates. Now, we're not so far into using this that we can use this yet. What we can do though is we can select a specific position on the screen. And it's very much a direct selection. So if I click on this, it'll say, okay, where on your frame do you want to have the ball go? And you'll see this little box here. This is where the ball's going to go when it goes out the bottom of the screen. So I don't want it to be over here. I want it to go right where it started. So I'm going to drag this box up to where my starting position is. And it'll even give me my X and Y coordinates, which is nice. And we're going to leave this as is now. So my ball, when it comes out of the bottom of the screen, should take 1 life away and should put it back up here, and it should continue to move. So we're going to hit OK. And we're going to test this out again. We're going to run, go to frame. Oh, bounce. I got a lucky bounce there. We're going to let this guy go ahead, go off the screen. And hey, look at that. It respawned at the top and continued bouncing so I can continue playing. Not bad. Let's run out of lives here. And here we run into another problem. I've run out of lives, but the game continues going. I can keep playing forever. We don't want that to happen. We want the game to actually end when we run out of lives. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back into our event editor. And we're going to make another condition here. And we're going to go to the player. And we're going to compare to player's number of lives. And then underneath it, it says when number of lives reaches 0. Now, this is interesting. So I can click on that. When the number of lives reaches 0, I want something to happen. What do I want to have happen? Well, I want my game to end, right? I want my game to not, like, keep going. So the simplest way of doing that is I can have my game just kind of close itself out after we run out of lives. When the number of lives reaches 0, we want the game to close out, let's say. Now, our option for that is going to be in what's called our storyboard controls. That's the one that looks like a chessboard here. So if you come down over here, number of lives equals 0. What I want to have happen is I'm going to end the application. That means it's going to end the game if I run out of lives. So if I hit run, and I go to frame, and I let this thing run out of lives, it goes ahead and it ends the game for me. So now we have a fail state. So not bad. We have a way for our game to keep track of what we're doing. We have a way for our score to go up. We have a way for our lives to go down. And we have a way for the game to give us a fail state. That is, close the game out when we mess up so badly that we lose all of our lives. Now, this is pretty good. We have a working game. I'm going to tell you that right now, as it is, this is a game that has pretty much everything that makes it a game. Does it make it a great game? No. But we have a basic game. What we're going to do in the next set of videos is I'm going to show you guys how to make a start screen and an end screen. And then I'm going to show you guys how to swap out custom graphics and add sound effects to make this thing look and sound more like a professional game rather than the basic prototype that we have currently. Thank you guys for being with me in this tutorial, and I look forward to being in the next video with you guys.